One of the biggest fights that we have right now is where we continue to conduct whistleblowing exposés at factory farms and in slaughter plants. Our exposés, where we use hidden cameras to document the abuses that are typically happening inside of these facilities,
Right.
have led to animal cruelty convictions, meat recalls, slaughter plant shutdowns, and more. But the meat industry's response to these exposés has not been to try to prevent these abuses we're uncovering from taking place. Rather, it's to try to prevent people from finding out about those abuses in the first place with so-called Ag-Gag
Laws.
laws.
Yeah.
These are attempts to criminalize not animal abuse, but the documentation of animal abuse. And they've succeeded in some states. For example, now in Utah and in Idaho, it is illegal to take a photo of somebody abusing an animal on a factory farm or in a slaughter. Just shows how desperate the meat industry is to hide what it's doing from the public. It shows they're grasping at straws to try to keep people in the dark about how inhumane they are. So we're fighting these ag-gag bills throughout the country. Most of them we've been able to kill. Some of them have gotten through, but it's a big battle, and it shows the values of this industry versus the values of the animal protection movement, where we want transparency. We want people to see how their food is being produced. We want people to see what reality is like for farm animals, whereas they simply want to keep people in the dark.
Has anyone been prosecuted under an ag-gag law yet?
There have been only 2 times, both in Utah, where people have actually been charged with the ag-gag crime.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was a woman who was standing on a public sidewalk
Mm-hmm.
who saw workers at a slaughter plant across the street moving a downed cow. A cow was too sick or injured even to stand and walk to her own death with a forklift. They were bulldozing her with a forklift into the slaughter plant and around the slaughter plant facility. And she pulled out her iPhone and started videotaping from across the street.
Hmm.
The police didn't come and arrest the animal abusers. They arrested her for violating the ag-gag law. There was such a public outcry, though, that they pretty quickly dropped the charges.
Hmm.
And something similar happened in another case in Utah as well, and the charges got dropped there too. So there haven't been that many prosecutions under this, but the goal of the ag-gag proponents is not to prosecute, it's to silence.
Right.
Know that the organizations that conduct these whistleblowing exposés, like the Humane Society of the U.S., Compassion Over Killing, Mercy for Animals, and others, are law-abiding. So while some individuals may have thought, oh, I'm going to take out my cell phone from the sidewalk because I don't know anything about the law,
Yeah.
the organizations that are really conducting these exposés, they're trying to silence them because they know that we're law-abiding organizations.
And because they know that it's seeing videos like these, even in your own case, that makes people change their emotional sentiments and reconsider. Yeah.
That's exactly right. The reason the meat industry is so desperate to hide from Americans and the rest of the world what it's doing to animals is because they know the more people know about how routinely abused farm animals are, the less likely they are to support them, the more likely they are to say, this needs to stop. These animals are treated so despicably that the best thing that the meat industry has going for it is a general unfamiliarity with how things actually happen. This is why when you look at their product packaging, they don't have images of animals in tiny cages.
Right.
They have images of bucolic scenes of red barns and green pastures. I was in the store just the other day looking at a cage of eggs, looking at a carton of eggs from Cage 10s, and there was a cartoon on the front of chickens walking around in a green pasture with a little barn in the background. Of course, the birds who actually laid the eggs in that egg carton never saw or ate a blade of grass in their life. They never even touched the ground. They lived their entire lives immobilized in a cage where they couldn't even spread their wings. So there's a lot to be done in terms of shining a very bright light on this dark and hidden world of factory farming, and this is why the meat industry is so desperate to pass ag-gag laws.